Left channel, right channel, center.
VTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features spaceflight.
誕生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than Pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4'11".
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Zylog hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
Not at present.
配信タグは
Cat-like feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris Indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得
video.
意なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白
I love you.
好きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pita 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Spacefaring people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
最後にみんな
interview.
に一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition. Booster ignition and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Okay, that might do it now. Okay, it looks like it's working now. Can you hear me now? Welcome to the world. Welcome to the wild world of Scuff. But in any event, thank you for the heads up on that. I appreciate that. And I sometimes I forget that I'm doing stuff on multiple computers. And I know several of my friends and other fellow VTubers tend to stream primarily, if not exclusively, on YouTube. And the thing is, though, is most of these people tend to use only one computer, which to me, I think is a bad idea. Mainly because what's going on is that, especially with the recent vulnerabilities discovered in one of the runtimes that VTube Studio relies upon, that is not a good thing, especially considering the fact that buffer overruns is probably the single most common, and on top of that, the single easiest to fix vulnerability. And basically, it's careless programming at its absolute finest. And I do mean that very sarcastically. And if anybody from Live 2D out there is out there, might I make a suggestion? Do a complete top-to-bottom audit of all your code to make sure these stupid errors don't happen again, because that is, like I said, the most common type of mistake that no programmer worth their salt should be doing. I mean, this isn't 1989, where SendMail had has had multiple big, huge, gaping root holes. This is 2023. We should be doing a lot better than that. You need to have your software audited, make sure that there aren't any serious bugs in there, especially anything that could allow a remote attacker to take control of the target's computer. So that's partly why I run VTube Studio and everything else on its own computer, it's mostly because I'm snowshoeing the load, as it were. Like snowshoes on a bunch of snow, I'm spreading the load out to make sure that no one spot is going to take an entire big bunch of load. And on top of that, it's risk mitigation. I am moving a piece of software that has had that now has some established security issue history, notably the Live 2D buffer overrun issue. And Unity itself is also a source of trouble. I think there have been buffer overruns and security issues in the past for that. So, and on top of that, since many VTubing applications rely on Unity, such as VTube Studio, such as the the Twitch Internet Interactive Throwing System, Shoost, and even vBridger, they all depend on Unity. And if I'm going to be running any Unity application on my gaming machine, at least one of them had better be my game. Otherwise, you're getting moved to a computer whose sole purpose is to run that stupid Unity program. Interactive or not. Whether interactive by me, interactive by my audience, or perhaps even both. So, yeah, that's my rant for the night. But yeah, I pretty much touched on the same thing on my Twitch stream last night on the same subject. Basically, and on top of that, I also mentioned this to the developer of an extension for Sammy, which is the Stream Deck software I use, because Elgato has absolutely nothing that works for my setup, because it just like everything else, it relies on the notion that everything is running on one PC, which is, like I said, never a good idea unless you happen to have top-of-the-line hardware and software. And even though I've got a really up-there processor, a Ryzen 7 5800X, and 64 gigs of RAM, and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060, which isn't necessarily top of the line, but at least it's better than what I had before. It still apparently can't handle some programs that are not exactly optimized well, such as the the RTX enabled version of Half-Life. And I specifically mean Half-Life, not Black Mesa, but Half-Life. Basically where it has ray tracing capabilities in the system. And it got so bad on there. I was the first time I was playing, the first few times I was playing it, I was integrating the stream as well as playing the game on the same computer. And the load on the GPU got so severe, it was actually affecting web browsing processes. Like I'm running Vivaldi to do the browsing because Chrome is too much. Although, to be fair, Vivaldi and Chrome, as well as OBS Studio itself, all use the Chromium engine. So, and even the browser sources within OBS Studio were directly affected by it, which is not a good thing. So I ultimately decided to farm. I mean, I was the plans were in the offing for the longest time for moving all the stuff that's involved in studio type stuff like overlays, all the other assets, the music that you're hearing right now, although that's actually coming from a different computer entirely, because that's another thing. First thing I did was offload encoding. That I did a couple years ago, and the role of that machine has changed in recent months. It now hosts my stream, hosts Sammy. Prior to that, it was called the Oran board. And it has, now that the newer versions of, first of all, the Oran board 2, and then subsequently Sammy, its successor, has one thing that I don't think Elgato can ever touch, and that is the ability to connect to more than one OBS Studio installation, especially considering, like I said, I run it on 4 machines, and right now I have that thing connecting to 3 of them. I may have it connect to the 4th one. I just haven't decided how that's going to work yet, or whether I'm going to do it. So basically that's how that works, and that's another thing I'm going to be showing in just a bit, and that is how I do. I now have, right now, in the past what I did is I had a full screen session which would capture, a full screen capture of VTube Studio, and I would move that whole screen around the window whenever I went to a program and went into chat mode. However, that has since changed. I am now using I'm doing all that from within VTube Studio, because then I can do other crazy stuff. Like, for example, let's go to the program. I don't have a program up and running, but for example, just for the sake of argument, here is the program here, and I am moving myself over here like that, and there I am on the lower right hand corner. And if I wanted to come back into the chatting position, I actually had that capability. Give me just a minute here. I need to open up the, let's see, it's me, it's a dead prompt, because I already did this a while back, because I was logging into Vivaldi so that I could set up the stream. Now, if I wanted to go back to just chatting without changing the scene, I can do just that, like that. And instead of doing it from within, doing it, well, at least I thought I did, I had that capability anyway. Shoot, I have to figure out what's happening there. There's an issue going on. And but anyway, I can plus on top of that, if I do, let's see what happens when I go back to the chatting window, and it does that without too many issues. But I don't know if it's using the I don't think it's using, now that I think about it, I think the profiles might be the ones that's carrying the information on what's going on there. Well, there's a reason testing tech is in the title. Absolutely, you're correct, because it did work on the Twitch stream. It's not quite working right on the, let's see, because I do have 2 different options that allow me to do extreme close-up and, oh, it's actually working. My bad. I don't know what happened. But if I wanted to get really into your face, I could do this. Now I can get in your face and get really angry and cuss you out and all that cool jazz. Excuse me for a minute. I need to slink back into the just chatting window. Hang on just a minute here. Anyway, that's how that works. Plus, I also need to set up some other stuff so I can change between models and stuff like that. Because one thing I'm going to be doing before too long, I mentioned this last night, is I'm going to be getting with my rigger Q on to get soon to get this model re-rigged because of a couple things. One, let me bring up VTube Studio on the other machine. I actually have 3 monitors here. I have a standard Dell 24-inch 1920 by 1080 24-inch monitor on my left. The one I'm looking straight at is a Samsung 34-inch 21.9 monitor. And to my right is a Hewlett-Packard 30-inch 1610 monitor with all the resolutions being from left to right, respectively, for the Dell, the Samsung, and the Hewlett-Packard 1920 by 1080, 3440 by 1440, and 2560 by 1600. So the one thing I can do now is, without too much worry, and on top of that, being able to return pretty much to any position at will, is do this. And this is the reason I want to get a re-rig. Well, this is one reason of many, because that's all you get to see of me if I wanted to go up there. And of course, I like the ability to change to other models, and I do happen to have another one loaded, which is by MO, I think is the person's name. And it's based on the Omori art style. And so let me do that real quick. And on top of that, I've got the UI up. You're not going to see that, only because that's another thing that they added in VTube Studio recently, and that is Spout. Not Sprout, but Spout. S-P-O-U-T. There's no R in it. Basically, apparently there's a... I actually showed that to Denchi some time ago, because that's how PRPR Live does their integration with OBS Studio, except it uses a branded version of the Spout plugin, and it's an older version of it. If you happen to use PRPR Live, you can actually use the Spout plugin directly with it, and it'll work just fine. You don't need to install that. And on top of that, you have a few other options too, like being able to say where the what the exact sender by way of that particular Spout endpoint is. So I'm going to load that real quick and load the other one. Waiting on the model to load. There we go. And I'm going to zoom out just ever so slightly. Ooh, that was rather interesting. I just happened to see the outline change on the resulting stream that you guys are watching. I'm going to do this real quick, because I kind of forgot the exact key sequence I use in order to set myself up. And let's see if it actually works. And let's see, hang on. No, excuse me, I did the wrong one. Wrong key sequence. There we go. That's what I wanted. And I don't have all those positions set up in here, and I think that's stored on a per model basis. And the other thing I wanted to do was also, I'm going to bring up VTube Studio's menuing real quick. I'm going to turn off the direct connection, the direct TCP connection between the iPhone and VTube Studio. I already have the receiver set up for VC face, because the one program that uses it that allows me to have much finer mocap control, of course, is VBridger. And let me make a... I'm trying to remember where the heck all the connections are, the controls are. I'm going to redo the connection. There we go. Open that control. Oh, that's right. I had to do it from the phone. Silly me. Whoops. Okay. We're going to turn that off. All the motion capture will stop momentarily, so I'll be going pretty much solid and motionless, at least for the moment or so, as I launch VBridger. That's another thing I did, is I created a separate account such that I can actually effectively run all these programs, because I cannot make sure that that works. It's connecting there. Now I have to start connecting to VTube Studio with VBridger. It's connected now. Start sending. Let me double check. Everything looks good there. Awesome. And of course, I can do other things like it should do eye tracking and all this other cool stuff. So I'm gonna get myself in a little bit closer. And there we go. Yeah, it looks a little bit strange there. Let me adjust a little bit. On my left, I've got an RDP session to the machine that is doing the VTube Studio application, as well as a process of OBS Studio putting everything together. And then on my right, I've got the actual OBS Studio session itself that's putting the stream together, as well as another RDP session open to the encoder, so I can watch what's going on there shortly before it hits the wire and heads out to the internet proper. Yeah, basically I'm using all RDP sessions on all the machines here except for the one I'm seated at. The 3 core computers that I use, the VTube Studio machine on the left, at least on my the left-hand session here, I use a program called mRemote NG, which is a multiple protocol. How do I call it? Terminal application seems a little bit trite, but at the same time, not quite descriptive enough, because it doesn't do just text sessions like telnet, rlogin, SSH, RSH, which of course are all these standard Unix ones, but also does various graphical sessions such as Remote Desktop Protocol, RDP, RFB, Remote Frame Buffer, which is what VNC uses, and I think it also knows how to handle Citrix as well. If you're using Citrix Metaframe, for example, where you have terminal services. So, and I have 2 different windows open. The one on the right has both the sessions to the studio machine as well as to the encoder machine. And the encoder machine has multiple programs running on it, notably the SAMI receiver and what is called Play It Cartwall, which emulates a bank of Fidelipack cart players that you would see, say, for example, at a radio station or a TV station where they would play jingles, music, commercial breaks, whatever. Basically, audio that can be played on demand and without needing to rewind the cart, because you can't rewind them anyway, because they're just like 8-track cartridges in that they are endless loops. And that's the way this works. That's where all my BGM is on right now. I don't have any others loaded, but at some point, if I get more, I likely will do so. So in any event, what you're seeing here now, of course, is the MO's Omori model with a few little a little bit of adjustments to make it pretty close to what I would otherwise look like, including and especially the glasses and the heart-shaped ahoge. The only difference when it comes to the ahoge is mine is composed of 2 hairs, 2 sets of hair, as opposed to just the one, which is what I see on a lot of others. But yeah, that's how that works. And right now, just getting all this stuff working, I'm actually using WebSockets in order to communicate to the I'm using OBS Studio WebSockets to talk to VTube Studio right now. But now that I've been made aware of an extension that actually talks directly to VTube Studio by way of its API, which is all TCP socket based, it could talk directly to the program, just like how the interactive throwing system works, how a lot of these other programs work that talk directly to VTube Studio. It does it over a network socket as opposed to, say, a DLL that exposes an API interface, API layer. It's easier to do it that way because you can do a lot with it, and on top of that, a lot of the programs are cross-platform, including and especially VTube Studio itself, which of course can be gotten from Mac OS as well as, of course, Windows. And of course, since the nice thing about having a TCP socket-based API is the programs don't necessarily have to reside on the same computer. In the case of my throwing system and I think I might have one other that's on there. Those are on the same machine because one does display video on there, and I do need to capture it, and that's why I have the OBS Studio program there. And on top of that, I use NDI filters, which allow me to send an alpha channel video to the studio machine, and then basically from there, as far as the controlling Sammy side of things, that's where I use different computers, because the Sammy program sits on the encoder machine, mainly because if for whatever reason there's a problem and something goes toes up either on the studio or the gaming machine, I can switch to the encoder machine and it can provide BGM if necessary. And one of the things I probably should also do is log my browser in, and I believe I have chat set up at least on Twitch side of things, but I should log in a browser over there just so that in case something goes way bonkers, I can actually chat with the people from the actual encoder itself. But basically, like I was telling someone else, it is absolutely possible and actually has happened whereby the encoder is the only thing people are able to see, because everything else is either being rebooted, has decided to go haywire, or whatever. So it is, I can do a lot of crazy stuff with my setup, and quite frequently have. So in any event, that's what's going on this side of things. On the real life side of things, been kind of busy at work lately, and it's been taking enormous amounts of my energy to do that. Whew, yeah, it's been pretty crazy. And coming up next week, a week from tomorrow, in fact, will be my birthday. I won't actually be doing the celebration stream until the following weekend, but next week, next Thursday, May 4th, is my actual birthday. I might stream something that evening. Might not do it for terribly long because I have to work the following day. So, yeah. And in recent weeks, I've been doing lots of overtime. Quite frequently, it's an additional 2 hours every weekday at work. Sometimes we do a full 8 hours on Saturday. This week, I'm doing a combination of both to make sure I have a ton of money coming my way. So, yeah, especially considering rent's due this weekend, and hopefully I can get some additional money to do some other things. I'm hoping to have, by the time all this is done, I should still have enough money to get some rigging done on my model. So then I can do a few other things that the other model couldn't. Although, like I was talking yesterday, I was watching a clip where VTuber Shy Lily was talking about sometimes the rigging isn't so. I mean, some people have issues with the rigging because it doesn't express themselves right. But one thing she made abundantly clear is it's not necessarily the rigging itself that could be an issue. It could be just with the person who's actually using the model, because we're entertainers, like it or don't. And one of the things that she mentioned is we should actually act through our model. In fact, if you look at my little meme side of things, even with this simple rig that I have on my main model, I actually was able to pull off a little bit of some expressions that look kind of silly, and the model really isn't designed for a wider range. At this point, the rigging, more accurately, isn't fully designed to handle a lot of expression, yet I was able to pull something off relatively simply with it, but it worked. So yeah, it was the stupid Uwu and Oni-chan. It's all about the Go Atlas, Go Centaur, Go Katt Phlox. Although I use that in lieu of something that's a little bit more questionable. So basically what it boils down to is I've gotten a bit more tech working, and that's another thing I also wanted to mention. Because of the way the tracking works, especially on the throwing system. Normally, if I'm up here and I go, let me go over here so I can do this, and basically all the stuff can come from just about anywhere on the screen. Oh, wow, that thing got big. Now, if I move this over here, I need to look at the other machine so I can see where it's framed. And there's a significant delay between the minute I say something and the minute I make a movement of my model on the VTuber program, on the VTuber machine, and where it renders on screen in the browser window that you guys are watching as well as I am. It gets kind of awkward. But when I did it originally, I was originally using the move transition by Acceledro. I still am, in order to bring the program one in. But now when I tell it to do the throwing thing, it comes from anywhere. I mean, it comes from anywhere on the screen, not just in the confines of where the model is. It might work better if I went back to my other model. So stand by. I'm gonna do this real quick here. It should still work just fine if I'm using even though I happen to have vBridger running. So we're gonna switch back to Katt. There I am. Okay, there I am. I don't know if it's picking up on my motion. I may actually have to switch back to I'll need to tell it to connect. Oh shoot! You know what? I may actually have to turn vBridger off. There we go. Now everything is working as it ought. At least I think it is anyway. No, not quite. Stop sending, disconnect. So I should be sending stuff exclusively by way of VTube Studio. Ew, this is acting weird. But then again, this is a sort of a testing stream, so things are going to get a little bit strange. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to cycle VTube Studio, so then everything's a little bit more... let me try this real quick. Yeah, things are a little bit strange right now. Actually, things might be okay. But anyway, if I were to put myself in the gaming... what happens here is if I threw items here at myself like this now, basically the area that they're coming from is all they were coming is the only places they'd be coming from. If I move just the full captured screen down there. Now, since I'm capturing the full screen and then keeping it full screen the whole time, and instead moving myself like this around, e.g. gameplay. Then you can see all the stuff coming in from the other side of the screen, like that. And of course, when I do extreme close-up like this, it gets a little tougher to do it with, oops, I'm on the wrong keys, hang on. If I do it like this, you get to see things a bit closer up. Like Emperor Little Board, CompuPro, S100 chassis, a couple of Seagate hard drives from, oh, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago. Jeez, man, things have changed a lot. Anyway, let me pull back to just chatting for just a minute here. But yeah, this is, that's how the tech works on my side of things. And I still need to do a lot more work. Basically to make things work the way I like them, and there's still a few things I want to implement. And with the direct connection over to VTube Studio actually there and available for me, I actually had to hand edit the line in there, which is a hard coded connection to VTube Studio. By default, it connects to localhost, but I can actually connect across the network, and like I normally would to my to all three of the VTube Studio, OBS Studio connections that I'm currently using. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun thing to mess around with. So anyway, I think I'm gonna go ahead and I didn't really have much of anything else planned right now. I'm just like I said, I'm just goofing off right now, just showing you how things are working and what's going to be happening in the future, and just giving you a life update of what's going on. Like I said, I've been working really, really hard over at my workplace, and been working a lot of hours because we're a bit behind on what we're working on, and we need to really get get caught up, so then we can take things a little bit easier. And it's been and on top of that, at some point, I doubt it's going to happen right away. I'd like to make this like to derive a bit more income from my streaming ops. But as I've said, I tend to I think if I haven't said already, I might as well say it now. I tend to stream primarily on Twitch, and with every now and again a YouTube stream like I'm doing right now. And that's another thing I've done, is basically implemented all the tech in there such that if I wanted to, I can actually switch out overlays on demand by changing the visibility of a set of web sources by way of a conduit scene, which basically says, when this source is visible, we're going to go YouTube. On this one, we're going to be doing Twitch, yada, yada, yada. It was a fun setup to set up. And on top of that, there's another thing out there. There's a bunch of plugins, one of which is another one that I've been starting to use lately called Source Clone, another one by Exceldro, who has some pretty darn good plugins for OBS Studio. If you ever get into streaming, one thing I would recommend is try and really cut your teeth on OBS Studio. Not to say that there's anything necessarily wrong with Streamlabs desktop, but when you get right down to it, Streamlabs desktop is user-friendly, but a little too user-friendly, or more accurately, is very advanced user hostile. And I am an extremely advanced user, at least I like to think I am anyway, because the setup I have can only be accomplished with OBS Studio. And even though Streamlabs desktop does support NDI, it only ingests NDI streams. It doesn't actually originate them like this one does, like the plugin for OBS Studio does, both in terms as a filter, which can send video and or audio, as well as a full stream out the back of an OBS Studio program, which is how I get my gameplay into my games, especially most recently my Twitch stream series of me playing what is called Black Mesa Blue Shift, which is a reimagining of Gearbox's Half-Life Blue Shift. The first 4 chapters have been uploaded thus far, and it pretty much leaves off at where Barney is headed to Zen to make some changes, so then the transporting mechanism can get them out of Black Mesa, out of the Black Mesa research facility before things happen to it at G-Man's insistence, as it were. So anyway, that's how I've been getting gaming stuff into the computer, into the studio of late. Lots of other crazy stuff going on. So like I said, keep an eye on things. Things are going to get a little crazy before too long. And I also mentioned this on my Twitch stream, and I don't think I've mentioned it yet. The celebration stream is going to probably be happening over the weekend of the 12th, 13th, and 14th of May, which, like I said, is the following weekend from my birthday. So, and of course, my birthday is this next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. And then my celebration for, by the numbers, 650, 500, 100, and 55. 650, which is considerably more now, which is the number of Twitter followers, at a divisible by 50 mark. 500 Twitch followers, 100 YouTube subscribers, and 55 years, which of course is my birthday. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call it the end of the stream, and it's been a pretty fun thing to do. And on top of that, like I said, it was a testing stream to make sure things are working. I had to make some changes as far as I think the positioning stuff on the model has to be done a little bit differently if I wanted to, for example, load the Omori model. And then use the controls that I have set up within Sammy. I have 2 Android tablets, one with a Leorn board deck each, and they're accessing different parts of that particular deck set. So then one side allows me to set the scene, select scenes, as well as do pre-show setup, and another one that gives me machine control as well as scene control, machine control of all the main machines, as well as integration control, like what do I want to show on scene A, on program A, what do I want on program B, etc. And also do a lot of that as doing it within studio mode, which is the main thing I wanted to be able to do without having to go futz around saying, oh crap, this shouldn't have gone out on the darn stream. You know, stuff like that. So anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it call it a stream here. Yeah, one of the housemates here is smoking, and their smoke is coming in and it's bothering the hell out of me. So in any event, I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream here. And I hope everybody has a great evening. One of the things I also want to learn how to do, I suspect I'm probably going to have to do more of it before I'm able to do redirects, aka raids. Only of course on YouTube. Yeah, sure thing. I'm glad you came here. And that's another thing I'm also planning on doing on that weekend. I'm planning to do a multi-stream. So I'm going to be probably doing some tech tests over the next week and a half or so. So keep your eyes peeled, and of course stay on my you can always check my my socials. I don't think I have stream elements set up for all the commands that I have on my Twitch here, but here's a website with all my with a good many of my linkage on there. Let's see. And I don't think I have a command in there just yet for that. So that is coming at some point. It needs to happen at some point. So so all I have to do is just use a bang command, and there it is. So more of that coming soon. So as always, check my socials, and if you want to come and check in with me, you can check in on the various Discord servers I'm on, as well as the my own Discord server, which is also in that list. So in the meantime, like I said, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for coming, and I hope you have a great evening. So, but in the meantime, I hope you have a great evening. And Slava Ukraini, and I will see you next time. Bye.